First of all, the chairman of the board, the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners, Ed Eiler. Chairman, thank you for being here. We have a member of the Kansas Senate, Senator Jim Denny. Senator, thank you for being here. Well, there's a lot of great things happening here, a lot of activity in Olathe. You know, our schools are bursting at the seams. In fact, just recently we had a groundbreaking for our 5th high school. Olathe West, they've decided to call it. They haven't decided on a mascot, but my daughter, who goes to Olathe Northwest, is really pushing hard for the mice. She thinks that would be a good thing to have as a mascot to oppose. I don't think they're going to go for the West mice. But a couple weeks after that, we had the ribbon cutting for our 35th elementary school. 35 now here in our district. And why are people choosing here? Because of the quality of life. And the public school system here sets the tone for quality of life in Olathe. And under the leadership of Governor Brownback, he and his team have invested significantly in our public schools. This last year, millions and millions more new money to the public school system here in Olathe. And we need it, and we're very, very grateful. Because of the educated workforce we have here in Olathe, businesses here are growing, and more people are choosing to locate their businesses in this area. In fact, Governor was just here a couple weeks ago, and we celebrated an announcement by American International Group. The governor has been working with the CEO and his team at AIG, and they announced a 50% increase in the number of good jobs coming to Olathe. Instead of 600, which they've had a great track record here of attracting the educated talent that they need, they're hiring an additional 300 to bring it to 900. And we're so grateful for that business climate, that pro-business climate that has been created here in Kansas under the leadership of Governor Brownback. You know, people enjoy our schools, but if the learner doesn't feel safe, you can have the greatest school system in the world, and it's all for naught. The learners in our school system need to feel that they're in a community that values justice and peace. On that note, I'd like to introduce the Attorney General for the state of Kansas, Schmidt. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Johnson County welcome to General Schmidt.
Well, Mayor, thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for being here today, and it is a pleasure to be here in support of Governor Brownback. Part of our job at the Attorney General's office is to be, when appropriate, an advocate for the needs of public safety. That has happened time and again over the past 4 years. And I can tell you from my vantage point that it has been always comforting to know that we have had a receptive ear and a supporter on the needs of public safety when we've gone to the governor's office, and Governor Brownback has listened attentively and has delivered time and again on requests that we've made. For example, for the first time in 25 years, we are not talking about how we need to construct a new Kansas Bureau of Investigation forensic laboratory in order to deal with the needs of public safety in almost every county in this state. We are talking about how delighted we are that that new facility is going to come online in the fall of 2015 and is going to serve the needs of Kansas and Kansans. That was not one of these high-profile, headline-grabbing matters that would have been easy to do and move on. It cost money, it took dedication, it took leadership in rounding up votes, and it took a governor who would do all of those things and would also be willing to put in his budget the funding that was necessary to get that critical job done. And Governor, on behalf of law enforcement in Kansas, we are grateful for your willingness to do that. When we looked at this Kansas response to human trafficking, a growing problem, or at least a problem of growing awareness around the country, we knew we could go to Governor Brownback's office, not only because he was generally receptive, but because he had a long history of being a leader on human dignity issues and human trafficking issues when he served in the U.S. Senate. And Kansas now has one of the tougher human trafficking laws in the country. And to put that into perspective, when I first arrived, the grantees, the folks who are providing services with funding granted by the Attorney General's office, we're serving a grand total of 2 reported human trafficking victims statewide. Last fiscal year, our grantees served more than 300 human trafficking victims statewide. I personally don't believe that's because the conduct is more widespread or more egregious. I think it's because of the leadership of folks in the legislature and Governor Brownback in enacting the right statutes. We now know what we are looking at and seeing and are able to engage and provide services in order to support folks who have fallen victim. And Governor, we are grateful for your leadership on the human trafficking fight as well. We also have a tough new anti-racketeering statute in Kansas. We're in Olathe today. I want to thank the Olathe Police Department for their engagement, their leadership on the anti-gang fight, including the racketeering piece. This was a matter that had been bottled up in the legislature for a number of years. The federal authorities had a racketeering statute. Kansas did not. We now have a very solid anti-racketeering law in Kansas. And Governor Brownback, when we put it on his desk, was very pleased to sign that into law. So time and again, we have turned to the governor's office to be a good partner for the needs of public safety, provide leadership when it had to get done, and Sam Brownback has provided that. Governor, I have personally appreciated that. I'm looking forward to 4 more years of working with you on behalf of the needs of public safety in this state, and I know that we will leave this state better than we found it, particularly on the public safety front. So it is my pleasure now to introduce the governor of the state of Kansas, a reliable friend of public safety, the Honorable Sam Brownback.
Thanks, Attorney General. Thanks, Derek, and Frank, Steve, Mayor. Good to be here. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful time in Kansas City. And how about them Royals? You know, I'm just going, this is great. This is like the day the Royals had on Sunday. Just a beautiful day and a great time for us. Great expansion happening in this area of Kansas. In the Kansas side of Kansas City, things are happening. Growth is moving forward. This is a bit of a side note, but yesterday Creighton University came out with their Business Growth Index. And of the 9 states in our region, Kansas is top of the pack on growth index by a distance. If you're above 50 on their index, you're in a growth atmosphere. We're at 69, top of the pack, and growing, and a lot of that's happening right here. It's in Olathe, it's in Johnson County, it's in this area. Commissioner, things are moving and they're happening. But that has to have a public that is safe. It has to have a public safety team that people find reliable. And we've got one. We've got one here. The Attorney General's office has been a great partner. Eric went through a couple of things. The one he didn't hit was the Hard 50 special session that we had. And special sessions are difficult. A lot of times they can go errant. They can go to places that you're not particularly interested in. But this district attorney, Steve Howell, this Attorney General, myself, we worked together to get the Hard 50 law changed so that people that had committed heinous crimes in this state would go to jail and not be able to get out on essentially what amounted to a technicality. And we got that changed. And this leadership and this team is what pulled this together. And that's why I'm delighted to be here with these individuals. They've worked on the Hard 50, they've worked on human trafficking, they've dealt with issues like meth, they've dealt with crime in the streets, and we've done it together. And like the Royals, this is a great team that moves well together on these tough, important topics of our day. And they aren't going to get easier. The topics in the future don't get easier. You want a good, solid, experienced team that works well together. And with that, I'd like to call up District Attorney for Johnson County, who I think has done an outstanding job. And I really appreciate he and the Sheriff and their support and the Attorney General's support. Stephen Howell.
My honor to be here today to support the governor. He's always been a friend of public safety and those who work in the public safety sector, and we've touched on the reasons why it's important. If you don't have a safe community, then you're not going to have a vibrant community, and it's hand in hand. And in Johnson County, we work very hard at establishing that support, so there are safe schools, that when kids go to school, that there's people feel safe in their homes, and people feel safe going to work. And it's only through support of people like Governor Brownback, who has always been a friend of public safety groups, that we're able to achieve some of the results that we've talked about. We're very proud of being a part in getting that special session of the legislature where the Hard 50 bill was fixed based on a Kansas Supreme Court decision. That was not an easy thing to do. And it only took the leadership of the governor for us to accomplish that. And that is a huge public safety issue for the people of the state of Kansas, to keep those serious murderers behind bars. And so I appreciate his leadership in that regard that allowed us to have the opportunity to keep those people behind bars so they won't be walking the street. You know, one of the things that as a member of the board for the Kansas County and District Attorneys Association, we do a lot of work in the legislature on a variety of matters involving public safety, and I can say each and every time that we ask for the support from the governor's office, we've received it. And so on behalf of our membership and those who really work hard at making sure that Kansas is a safe place for everyone, thank you very much, Governor.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to tell all of you that I'm very honored to stand in front of you today as the elected sheriff of Johnson County and show my support and endorsement for Governor Brownback to lead us through another 4-year term. Having said that, it is very critical to echo what's already been said regarding public safety, not only in this county and this community, but statewide. I can assure you that the accessibility that we've had as law enforcement with the Office of Governor has been tremendous. The accessibility that we've had with the Attorney General also very tremendous. It's a good working relationship, it's a good partnership, and these kinds of leaders and this kind of leadership is what makes Kansas, and specifically Johnson County, a very, very safe place to live. I might also add that I do serve with the Attorney General on his Human Trafficking Board, representing one of several members who represent law enforcement. We're developing policy for law enforcement protocols and so forth, and I can tell you that that's a much needed thing for law enforcement, and I think we're making very, very good progress. On the other note, with the governor stating his concern for and continued approach to public safety, again, I just need to reiterate that what is being done from the governor's office has been tremendous for Kansas law enforcement. The Hard 50 was one, the human trafficking is another, and just some of the things that we're dealing with day to day where we need some assistance from the state level as far as guiding us through our law enforcement lives on a daily basis to make your community safe. So with that said, I'm going to give it back to the governor of the state of Kansas, Governor Brownback.
I'm delighted to have the endorsement. Attorney General done an outstanding job for this state. We're getting this crime lab built now. It's going up fast on the campus of Washburn. We need it. Delighted to have the endorsement of the District Attorney of Johnson County. He's done an outstanding job here now and will in the future. And of the Sheriff Denny in this area, the Mayor of Olathe, who all outstanding examples of public service and an outstanding team. This is a team that can win, and it is a team that does win. And without the public safety component going against the crime that happens throughout our state, but that we get on top of and that we prosecute, and we're going to stay after that. We're going to prosecute these criminals wherever they're hiding, whatever dark alley that they're in. We're going to pursue them. And we're going to see that we have a safe and secure Kansas for our people. That's a fundamental issue. It's a fundamental issue for me. We can do a lot of things right, but if the people aren't safe, things aren't going to work, and it's not going to move forward. And that's why I'm delighted to be surrounded by this team and seeking and asking for 4 more years of this team to be together for us to secure the safety of this county and the safety of this state. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. God bless you all. Thank you all for being out today. Appreciate it.
Hey, Governor, General Schmidt, since you're both here, can we have you talk a little bit about the Supreme Court's announcement yesterday regarding same-sex marriages and how it might affect Kansas?
I'll let you take
I'd like to hear you, Governor. I'd like to hear you as well.
I want to hear the Attorney General first, if you're willing to address the outset.
Mike, I don't know if you saw the statement we issued later in the day yesterday. We continue to assess the legal environment in which Kansas finds itself as a result of the Supreme Court's announcement yesterday that it would not hear this first round of appeals from the 5 states. I think everybody is aware of the mechanical situation where the appeals from the 10th Circuit were not heard. In fact, they were not heard means that they were not heard. I think that's an important matter to underscore. It doesn't mean that the court decided to side with those challenging the Oklahoma or Utah statutes, nor does it mean that the court decided to side with Oklahoma and Utah. It means that the matter was not decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. So Kansas finds itself in a difficult position at this time, where there has not been a challenge directly to the Kansas constitutional provision. No court has therefore spoken to the continued viability of that provision, and I think we're going to have to wait and see how the legal process plays out. I've read in the papers that those challenges will be coming, and we'll deal with them as they come. I think it is the role of the Attorney General to defend the law of the state that's been properly enacted unless and until a court of competent jurisdiction says that law is not enforceable. And so the answer is yes.
Governor, is this inevitable, or can we make an argument that maybe our law or constitutional wording is a little different than that?
Well, I don't want to go too far down the road. I realize there's a lot of excitement and interest in talking about what might happen. Our role is to be the state's lawyer if and when those challenges are brought, and we will deal with the defense of the state sort of case by case. And so I'm not going to speculate on how they might look or what issues might be raised.
Governor?
I understand what the Attorney General said. The state of Kansas voted on this issue. People of Kansas voted. Nearly 70% supported the definition of marriage as a union of a man and a woman. I support that. I think this is just a matter that's headed to the courts, and I think the state of Kansas should defend how the people have spoken and how the people have voted.
Governor, do you think that the climate has changed?
I'm going to catch this one first. I can sure hear you though.
Can you or lawmakers do anything to kind of bolster our case at this point?
The people have spoken on this. I don't know how much more you can bolster it than having a vote of the people to put in the Constitution that marriage is a union of a man and a woman. And they voted, I think it was 69%, define it that way. So that's as strong a vote as what can take place in the state of Kansas, but now it's a matter of litigation. Look, I've commented on this situation, on how the people of Kansas have voted on this issue.
Governor, both things suggest that the opinion for the judge have changed. Do you think the mic is really now? What can you say with the mic? Then speak up, sir.
The people of Kansas vote on it. Mike, I've made it.
72% of the people in Kansas support Medicaid expansion. Why not Medicaid expansion? 72% support it.
He wants to use that argument for his, and he won't take it for ours.
No.
Thank you very much.
You want a different background? Yeah.
That kind of really cool.